I just made the Chrome Dino game jealous. Yeah, that's right. I built a mechanical version of the classic Chrome Dino game. And guess what? I made it mostly from junk materials.
Damn!
I didn't hold back on the details either. From the dino design to the moving cloud and even the dino movements. Almost everything here is just like the OG game. So this is actually my first mechatronic project. Now, while most people start off building robots, smart dustbin or sort, I chose this, a mechanical version of the Chrome Dino game. You might be wondering, why this?
Why?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. Back in 2024, on a sunny but super boring day at my part-time job, I was playing the Chrome Dino game on my phone, just passing the time. Then this random kid, one of my customers' kid, I guess, came over to see what I was doing. And he looked at my screen and went, "Who the hell still play the Dino game in these days?" As much as I hate to admit it, I got roasted by a kid. So I guess that's where the inspiration kind of started. Literally speaking, I built this project to prove to a kid that the Dino game is still cool. But the major inspiration to actually turn the Dino game into a mechanical project came from one of my favorite YouTube channel, Engine Z. Before building this mechanical version, I actually tried making a Chrome Dino game using a text LCD screen. It sounds like a weird idea, but honestly, it was kind of cool. So in this video, I'll be sharing some of the building process, how I took some bunch of junk materials and turned them into a working mechanical game. So the name of the project is called Dino Rush. I asked you guys to help me pick a name and you guys nailed it. But in the end I went with Dino Rush by Maria. It just felt simple and catchy. The first thing I always do before I start any project is to draw a rough sketch and write down the features for the project. For the case of the Dino Rush, I broke the building into three processes: the game logic, the environment, and of course the dino. And each of these has some faces under them, and they all have mechanical and program challenges. Next, I moved on to the actual drawing plan. And yeah, I still use pen and paper. Don't ask me why I don't use fancy software like CAD or Blender. Let's just say all the credits go to my ancient system. But as ancient as it is, I was so glad it could at least handle the Arduino IED. So the first thing I did was to start with the boring part, writing the whole code for the whole project. Now, the Dino project requires a lot of coding. The scoring system to the obstacle, the environment, and the Dino jump itself, which can be a little bit confusing for a beginner like me. So I decided to write each of the code separately before I combine them into one single code. Sounds easy, right? At least that is what I thought. Until I combined everything and uploaded it to my Arduino, and unfortunately it didn't work as how the individual code did. And after days of failing to make it work, I finally humbled myself and gave the code to ChatGTP to fix it. Even though my friend kept advising me to debug it myself, it's my code, I have to debug it, blah blah blah. Well, I'm so glad I didn't listen to him. My code was fixed in no time, and honestly, if I had tried to do it myself alone, it would have probably have taken 10,000 years or even more. Plus, I actually learned what my mistake was, so let's count that as a win. This whole project was a risk because I only had one Arduino and few electronic parts that came the Arduino starter kit someone gifted me. But hey, I got to work with what I had and make sure I didn't burn my Arduino in the process, which kind of happened almost like 3 times. Anyways, here's a quick breakdown of what the code was meant to do. First, I programmed the servo motor that controls the jump mechanism. It moved about 60 degrees each time I pressed the button for a few seconds. Next was the motor that controls the background and the environment. Now here's the trick. To make the cloud and cactus move, I came up with this mechanism that worked kind of like a treadmill. The obstacle move on the bottom part and while the cloud slide in the vertical side. That gives it the moving effect just like a real game. I programmed the motor to gradually increase speed at certain intervals just like the OG Dino game, and since I was too broke to buy a proper motor driver, I used MOSFET instead. The next challenge was detecting when the Dino hits an obstacle. I decided to use light sensors for that. Yeah, I know, probably not the best option, but they're the only sensors I had in the starter kit. So with three light sensors on the dyno, LEDs on the obstacle, I programmed the system to stop whenever the sensor detects a certain light level. And then the LCD will display game over and your final score. Speaking of LCD screen, that thing gave me so many problems. For some weird reason, it kept showing me random garbages most of the time instead of the score. I thought the issue was from my coding, but part of the issue came from the MOSFET I used to control the motor, and the rest was from the long unstable mess of wires. I mean, I had 11 different wires running around. I nearly lost my mind every time I had to reconnect them. Luckily, by the end of the project, an old friend lends me his LCD screen that uses I2C protocol, which only needs 4 wires. That makes things super easier. So with all the electronics and programming done, I could finally move on to the fun part, building the actual mechanical system. You know what? I take back what I said. The mechanical build was not even close to fun or even easy. In fact, all my trauma started right here. The only part I enjoyed was building the dyno itself, made from aluminium zinc, designed in that blocky style, just like the real dyno game. And the leg mechanism, I just love how I managed to replicate that movement. It looked exactly like the real one in the Chrome Dino game. Other than that, everything else was just pure chaos. At first, the obstacle mechanism seemed kind of easy. I mean, I built the base out of wood, which I cut using a hacksaw blade. Yeah, I know that's not the proper tool for cutting wood, but hey, they worked.
Nice.
For the rollers that carry the belt, I got creative. I used empty sewing thread cylinders for the bottom rollers and pen cases for the side rollers. Then for the roller support, I found some random plastic pieces lying around, cut them up and took them to my filing machine, which by the way is just a rough piece of ground. After that, I used my local laser cutter, also known as cold flame, to bore hole into them. That's where the shaft of the rollers will sit. Now, if you look closely, the bottom and the side rollers are positioned at 90 degrees, but somehow they still rotate together. That clever trick was all thanks to using spur gears on the bottom shaft and belt gear on the vertical shaft, which gave me that perfect 90 degrees rotation. I even picked the right gear ratio so that the bottom belt where the obstacle move will spin much faster than the side belt where the cloud glide, just like the OG Chrome Dino game. So with the background mechanism done, I connected the belt to both side and bottom rollers and instantly knew I messed up. The vertical and the bottom side were moving in the opposite direction when they were supposed to move in the same direction. Like how the hell did I not notice that earlier? But there was no need for me to panic because I already know how to fix it. All I had to do was to add an extra gear to reverse the direction. Here's the trick. If you merge two gears, let's say A and B, they rotate in the opposite direction. But if you add a third gear, C, in between, they will rotate in the same direction as A.
One eternity later.
After hours of rebuilding the whole mechanism, it finally worked. The bottom and the side belt move in the same direction. And if you look closely, you can actually spot the extra gear I added. Now, moving to the part that almost drive me crazy. I mean, I almost ended the whole project because of this. The problem actually started right from the beginning. And for some reason, I chose to ignore it when I was designing the whole project. But in the near end, it kept crashing in my face. The issue was placing the LED obstacle on the moving belt mechanism. That sounds simple, right? But the real challenge was powering them with stable battery that wouldn't die easily. And like I said earlier, the obstacle mechanism worked just like a treadmill. It moved in a circular motion, so there was no way to power the LED without the wires getting tangled. At first, I thought of putting the batteries on the belt, but they were just way too big. Then I tried calculator batteries, but they died too fast, totally unreliable. Out of pure frustration, I pushed my brain to its limit and came up with this brilliant idea. So here's what I did. I grew wires to both ends of the obstacle mechanism, positive and negative, and I connected each of them to the obstacle LEDs. Then I made a spring terminal above the wires, which link to the battery. So now, whenever the obstacle mechanism moves, it constantly makes contact with the spring terminal, powering the LEDs without any tangle. Genius idea, right? Yeah, that's what I thought too. It worked perfectly from the beginning, but as time goes on, the real problem began showing its face. Since I glued the wires directly on the belt, they kept peeling off over and over again. I changed the belt like 6 times and every single one ended up the same way. At that point, I was done. I literally wanted to trash the whole project and become a musician instead. Nah, just kidding. I did something even more crazier. I grabbed a needle and thread, sorry, I mean needle and copper wire, and sewed the wires into the belt. And to my surprise, it actually worked.
Oh my god! Wow!
Since the wires are sewn in, they didn't peel off anymore, and the LED stayed powered perfectly. Well, sometimes the glitches. And after all my struggle, I finally got everything together and tested the whole game. It doesn't run smoothly, but hey, it works. For instance, the mechanism make a lot of noise. But don't blame me though, it's a mechanical game, not a mobile app game. And adding to that, the light sensor I used weren't exactly reliable as I expected. Sometimes they wouldn't even detect light at all. Other than that, everything worked fine. You can actually see how I tried my best to make it detailed as possible. The way the dino leg stopped moving each time it jumps, and how the obstacle moved faster than the cloud, and even how the dino freezes in place whenever it hits something, just like the OG Chrome Dino game. I could have added the bears and even the night mode if I had more resources, but honestly, I'm proud of how far it came. And as for the gameplay experience, I have been playing it for 2 days straight now, and I still haven't passed the score of 100. So yeah, I think it's officially harder than the original. Anyways, I'm really happy that I was able to bring this project to life. Huge thanks to God and all of you for your awesome comment and motivation that kept me going. So yeah, that's the story of how I almost lost my mind just to make a mechanical dino game jump over cactus. This was my first ever mechatronic project, and honestly, it means a lot to me. If I can turn a simple Chrome dino game into a real life machine, then trust me, you can build anything you dream of. Alright, that's all you need to know about Dino Rush, and I'm pretty sure Chrome will be jealous right now. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you up in the next crazy project.